Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Walking in the Footsteps of Elephant, not Elephants. I was questioning that myself when I first saw the title. I'm like, did somebody make a typo? But it honestly, it makes sense because this is basically a documentary about the nature documentary called Elephant, from DisneyNature, not National Geographic, but DisneyNature. And this is so they're walking in the footsteps of Elephant, the movie, not the creature. So, not many of the creatures, which there are many in this film. It's a different kind of documentary because it is a documentary about a documentary. It's a kind of a behind the scenes look. It's from 2020. It's an hour and 29 minutes long, and it follows the crew. Literally, while they were filming a documentary about elephants, there was people in charge of filming the crew as what they were going through while filming this. And honestly, why not double your money? Just add a couple more camera guys to the mix and have them filming other stuff. You could get two documentary nominations at the Oscars that year. You never know. So yeah, this is, or depending on where this was seen, I don't think it was seen in theaters. Obviously, it was in 2020. So yeah, it might have qualified for an Emmy. I don't know. Who knows? But either, who cares at this point? I don't know. It's just, this is just a unique thing because you're watching these guys as they're dealing with how to get around the Okavango Delta and the areas and the pathways and the migration paths of the elephants that we see in the main film. And we did watch that already, by the way, like almost a year ago, last August. Um, yeah, it was, I think, 654, episode 654. We're already at 990. Holy cow. A little more than a week away from 1,000 episodes straight. Holy cow. So, yeah, it's his holy elephant. Yeah. This is when I wish I could edit these things. I mean, I can, but I just don't. Uh, anyway, these guys and gals, and they basically make their way through treacherous landscapes. One of the first things we get to see is the swamp trucks that they custom build. Uh, Sort of these attachments, and they build out from Land Rovers and other things to make these vehicles not just go over treacherous land. That changes throughout the period of time that they're going to be there. They set up camp in the middle, sort of a little island that it's not so much an island, but it does prevent certain creatures from necessarily getting directly to their campsite. They have to go through lots of deep wetlands. That's essentially many feet deep of water. Some can float, some not so much. Others have to be dragged because it's just I guess they can't outfit all of them, and they just have one larger vehicle that pulls the rest along the way, and that's okay. But it does not make for easy traveling on the way to their campsite. Where they will live for the next few months. Where they get to see the example, they get to see as the elephants move from very rich, wet lands from the Victoria Falls and the Delta as it spreads across that part of Africa. And then when they see it all dry up, and the cycle begins again, they return, they migrate back, and it's fascinating to look at. And honestly, I don't know what I said back then when I watched Elephant, but I recommend this unless it's a thing that you're not really into at all about nature documentaries. But it sort of gives names and personalities to the animals. Thankfully, they don't make them talk like some movies, I think. But anyway, in this, there's no such story. We get to see their true reactions to the things they have to film. And the fact is that a lot of times they have to film things that they probably don't want to happen in front of them. There's moments where lions come into play. And lions, when they find a nice little juicy new elephant, little tiny baby elephant, well, they're easier to catch and kill than the big mama elephants. So good thing Mama keeps them close by. There is a moment in this when the lions lay in wait, just sort of actually just hanging out at one point. I don't know if I can't tell if it's day or night because they actually have really good cameras at this point where they are filming um, at night in color, not like green, night vision, whatever. It looks in color, but it is the dead of night, and it does not look like it. But the lions just sit there, just hanging out in the grassy area, and elephants. They realize just how little elephants can see in the dark because they get walk right up on them, and they suddenly are startled when they hear a growl, and you see these big lumbering creatures jump. It's kind of unnerving. But at one point in this, the lions, 8 of them, are hungry, and they circle. One takes a leap and grabs onto the little elephant, and Mama fights them off. Fights off 8 lions, hungry lions, and it's kind of something to see. And there's other moments where you realize that they have to shoot some of the paths that the elephants take are through deep waters that they and the hippos and everything else, they have built into their memory as the way to go from one place to the next. It's passed down through generations. The matriarch who oversees the entire family is the oldest and wisest and strongest, and she is the one who has to, sort of lead them and teach them, and it's so almost passed on genetically, it seems like in some cases, but it also comes from experience of making this trip year after year, months after months. And we get to see, I'm not going to spoil the story of Elephant, because there is a story they construct in addition to just going, here's a bunch of elephants that are walking. They try to make it interesting. But with this, you get to see that these guys have to take cameras. They got to get some shots that are underwater. And while it might be fleeting in the film itself, in this we get a little bit more footage. We get to see how they shoot it and what dangers they are put in as they shoot it. There's crocodiles in these waters. They are easily startled, but they are also more powerful in this domain than just sitting on on the edge of the water with their mouths open, looking threatening. And because of the way this underwater grassy plant life and cloudy water kind of situation looks, you will not know there's a crocodile on your nose until he is right there. And it makes for these guys need some hazard pay. Yeah, it makes for some really tense moments. There's just lots of astounding footage that obviously not all of it made its way into the actual documentary film. And again, I hesitate to call it a documentary because it educates and it explains, but it also is a story. They've created characters. They've named the elephants. In this, that you get to see, you get to know the names of the people who filmed them, and see the kind of tensions, seeing the lions go up against the elephants and knowing that they can't interfere. They can't just go, oh, no, stop, bang, bang, scare off the lions or whatever. They can't do that. It's the way nature plays out. Even if certain things are going extinct or almost extinct, it's still, they gotta obey the laws of the jungle. Now they can protect themselves, obviously, because there's some points where they're just out in vehicles with no real doors, no way to close themselves off from nature. They're just a couple feet off the ground, and they probably still smell like meat. So it's just a matter of sitting inside their truck and waiting, and they can see the lions off in the distance, and some get curious and they walk up to the camera. They start sniffing about the scratch, and they just flash a flashlight on them to scare them off. And that's the most interaction they can get. They, like with the guys swimming underwater, you could see they had a knife ready just to protect themselves, just in case. But unless they're in danger, no, they can't interact. They can't interfere with the natural course of how things roll out in nature. So yeah, it's makes for some really interesting things. This is the kind of thing I actually enjoy, these types of documentaries a little bit more than just, hey, we're an elephant family and this is what happens when you're an elephant and how look how cute we are and how smart, and it's, yeah, I mean, you get to see the people who are the experts reflect upon this. There's a number of people who literally live amongst the elephants in the on Delta and in the plains. There's parents who are raising their tiny little girls in this essentially barren, wild land, and they're in charge of keeping track of and watching over these elephants, and they kind of know who's who and where they're going, and what are they protecting them from? Well, poachers, because the ivory market is still a thing, and there are people who exist to take down these beautiful, elegant, incredibly intelligent creatures for profit. It's sad and it's sick, but it's true. So yeah, it's I mean, they're part of also ecological organizations that work to help preserve these creatures, these animals. So it's really you get to see some experts talking passionately about elephants and seeing what they do to keep these creatures alive. And there's some things that kind of astounded me when you kind of think it's kind of made up or it's exaggerated when you're looking at it in a story type film. There's a moment in this where maybe they showed it in the actual elephant documentary, but when these elephants come across the skeleton of a dead elephant, they take their time to just walk around it, examine it with their trunks, and they specifically examine different parts of it, tusks, the skull, just parts of it, to realize, maybe this is somebody they knew, somebody is part of their family. And the weird thing is they all sort of raise their trunks and as they walk by and walk around it, and unless they're examining it, but they all raise it. It seems like an act of respect. So it's kind of they're fascinating creatures, and I think there's a lot of stuff that it's going to get scary if we ever get smart enough to create the technology that shows us just how incredibly intelligent other animals are. We know they are to a certain degree. The octopus is an incredibly intelligent creature, but do we understand its language? Do we understand how to communicate with it properly? Not sufficiently. And if we ever get to the point where we can fully read the minds or communicate with these creatures, we're going to realize, man, we've treated them like garbage and ate them for fun and enjoyment in butter sauce or whatever, and took their tusks for ornaments and furniture. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think maybe not even a century from now we might learn a little bit too much that we can't unlearn about these creatures. So if you want to learn a little something about it and see what it's like to be while you're sitting at home watching this or watching this documentary or just playing video games or whatever, there's people out there in the middle of the Okavango Delta watching elephants. That's kind of cool. It's kind of like, that's your life. I mean, I don't know if it's cool for me. I don't know if I could handle being out there. It'd be interesting to, spend a few days there. But living there? Probably not. Let's see if this would be something I'd want to live through. Let's check tomorrow's episode.
364.
364. All right. Okay. 364. I have no control over this. This is random. I don't know what I'm get, except for the few exceptions here and there when it's a premiere on Disney Plus that I know I'm going to watch anyway. I decide to choose that episode as that day's episode. When I'm not doing that, it's random. It's another documentary. So we got 3 in a row now. This is, again, if you want to watch something about me talk about cartoons or something, or Star Wars. Well, sorry, that's not going to happen. I don't have control over it. But here, we're going to be going Pop Goes the Vet with Dr. Joya. Okay. Pop Goes the Vet with Dr. Joya. I have a feeling it might be a series. I don't know. But if it is, we'll probably just watch one episode and probably get the gist of it. Pop Goes the Vet with Dr. Joya on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.